I thought the meeting went fantastic. It was exactly what we were looking for, a question and answer session with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. They were gracious with their time. Many of the members, pretty much almost all of them, lined up at 3 mics and went through the process of expressing their concerns and their ideas of how we can truly tackle this massive deficit, cut spending, and lower inflation. Elon and Vivek talked about having a naughty list and a nice list for members of Congress and senators and how we vote and how we're spending the American people's money. I think that would be fantastic.
It just keeps getting better and better. Please read the sarcasm. Georgia Congresswoman Majorly Tainted Grinch. Merry Christmas, everybody. Marjorie Taylor Greene will chair a new subcommittee named after the internet meme and the new advisory committee that Trump is creating, named after Dogecoin, which I still own, by the way, as a side note. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. You can subscribe to my podcast, Last Week on Earth, for a summary of everything that happens during the last week. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy pitched the committee a naughty list and a nice list, which again works perfectly because the Grinch is now on board.
Elon said that there will be, he said, a good list and a naughty list.
A nice list and naughty list of lawmakers who didn't support their efforts or won't support their efforts to cut federal funding, which is both, timely and ironic, again, because of the Christmas spirit that likes to get crushed so often by, haphazard plans to just slash all of the assistance that our government currently offers us because they want to just slice wherever they can except for things that will help them personally. Reducing the federal bureaucracy, of course, is a great idea. Clearly a good thing, something we need. Most agree tackling government waste, fraud, and corruption is long overdue. We need to do it. I do support the general premise of this commission, but the way they want to do it, headed up by the world's richest man and another supposed billionaire, Vivek Smirk in a suit Ramaswamy. The guy just oozes smirky, unpleasant cockiness, raises a little bit of concerns, and now much more with MTG leading the charge from inside Congress. Bigger problem also is because they can't cut the $2 trillion they say they want to cut out of the $6 trillion annual budget. But it's not just me who thinks so. According to Politico, even some Republicans are questioning whether MTG's new role will make her leader or an even bigger headache than she's been since arriving on Capitol Hill. The article said, and I quote, most publicly praised the move, citing her ability to shake conventional norms. Close ties with Trump and strong following with the base as key assets for her new role. Yet some Republicans also privately fear that Greene, one of the most incendiary and combative elected officials who tends to be on the GOP fringe, will end up being more of a distraction than a helpful facilitator of the DOGE agenda. One House Republican, granted anonymity to speak candidly, said the assignment could be perceived as rewarding bad behavior. Another elected official concerned about Rep. Greene's competence is, by the way, California Democrat Robert Garcia, who's worked closely and directly with her, apparently more closely than anybody because he serves on all 3 committees she's on, and he's not too confident in her abilities. Take a look at what he had to say.
The only maybe positive news of Marjorie Taylor Greene leading anything is that she's the most incompetent member of Congress, the most unserious member of Congress, and so she will be completely ineffective in doing anything. She certainly is as a member of the Oversight Committee, which I serve with her on. And I'll tell you, you may know this, Alex, I'm the only member of Congress that sits on the exact same 3 committees as her. So I spend more time with her in committees than anybody else in Congress. There couldn't be anybody worse. And so putting her on charge of anything is such a joke, especially a committee that whose whole intention is essentially to damage the government, to damage services, to ensure that people that are dependent on government services don't receive them. And I know that Marjorie, I'm sure, is just very excited about actually hurting people. It's really unfortunate this is happening, but I'm not too worried about somebody that can barely legislate being put in charge of anything.
Okay, ouch. That was aggressive. As Rep. Garcia puts it, the only thing standing between Elon Musk, Ramaswamy, and the DOGE committee from inflicting potential damage to the government, and then all of us who benefit from the programs where they can only cut at all possibly, is the incompetence of the person Republicans are choosing to lead it from within the halls of Congress. Some view the DOGE committee plans as unrealistic, despite pledges from its leaders, Ramaswamy and Musk, to drastically cut like I said, government spending in a draconian way, but these can be very, very harmful. Musk has already said, we can just cut programs, and then if it turns out we made a mistake, we can bring them back. Sure, just end all progress being made by government programs that are helpful for people in need, and then just undo your haphazard slashing. How about at least maybe be careful with what you're cutting? Is that possible? 80% of the budget can't really be touched without causing major, major problems to programs that have been seen as untouchable. Defense, even though I do think we could cut a lot there. I have my own theory that we have the most powerful military in the world by far and stronger than the next 5 militaries combined. If we cut our budget, it would just be scarier and we'd only have more deadly weapons to use and less layers that we can have to get through before using those weapons, which should be a deterrent. But the Republicans will never cut defense spending. So then the rest of that 80% is 10% on paying down the debt, which we don't do very much of, but we try. Not really, but sort of. And then it's Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Trump's already saying he'd like to cut some out of Medicaid because that just provides, health care for poor people and people who can't afford it, who are just struggling a bit. So, of course, that's on the chopping block. That's not going to sit well. And nobody really wants anybody touching their Medicare, health care for the elderly in our country. We're going to touch that, or our retirement savings we pay into. Social Security, we're going to just slash that. So the rest of it is like tiny 1% and 2% chunks of the budget, as you can see explained in this clip.
People need to understand Social Security and Medicare make up about 50% of what the government spends. You add defense and veterans benefits, that's another 20%. So you're up to 70%. You then add debt and how much it costs to service that debt. That's another 10%. Before they even start talking about cutting these so-called federal employees that are bankrupting us, the United States government has already spent 80% of its budget.
Things like security, police, the FBI, education is just a 5% chunk of the budget. So of course we should cut that, right? Because we're doing so well, not even being anywhere near the top as far as developed countries when education is concerned. But why should we be concerned about that? These guys just want to take a red marker and go, hey, fun, cut around, cut things and see what happens. Hope they find some real fraud, waste, and abuse. I hope they just don't cut good things so they can get their numbers up, or down, but up. You know what I mean. Here's to hoping. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ.